All right, it's 9 o'clock, but I see that it's just only six of us over here. So probably we will just give like another 5 more minutes, all right, for the other participants to join us. So hi and good morning. For those who just joined us, we will start like 5 minutes later for the other participants to join us. Yeah, thank you. At the meantime, do prepare a piece of A4 paper and also a pen or pencil. We're going to do a little activity before the start of this session. Hi, Evelyn. Good morning. Thank you for joining. All right, it's 9:05 right now. Good morning, and thank you for joining this session. I thought, like, as I've mentioned to Bridget and also Mr. Wong, I hope that I addressed you correctly, that I thought like today there won't be a lot of people joining because yesterday was a holiday, and I believe that a lot of people are taking a long stretch, one whole weekend for the holiday. But thank you very much for joining me this morning, either from your house or from your office. All right. So a little background about myself. So I'm Alicia. So I'm from a Teaching and Learning Center at UG over here. A little background about myself is that actually my main core is on biological sciences, and I major in biochemistry and immunology. So I did a postdoc in University of Oxford before coming back due to the pandemic. And now I'm joining UOW back to the academic, and glad to see all of you this morning. So as mentioned in Hazim's email that I require all of you to prepare a piece of A4 paper and also a pen or pencil. I hope that all of you are ready for this. Can you give me a thumbs up if you have a piece of paper and a pen or pencil in front of you right now? Thank you. How about the rest? Thank you very much. Okay. All right. Oh, it's all right. Okay, just drive carefully, all right? No worries about that. So if everyone is ready, okay, so I would like you all to draw something on the paper right now. So first of all, draw a circle on the paper. All right, draw a circle on the paper. Okay, next, put the letter A inside it. All right, so first of all, you draw a circle and you put the letter A inside it. Next, draw a line through the circle. So are you done with that? So first of all, you draw a circle, put the letter A in it, and the last part will be draw a line through the circle. Okay, if you are done, I hope that you can switch on your camera. I just want to see what you have drawn. Yeah, you don't have to show me your face if you're camera shy. That's okay. Yeah, let's see. Hi, Mr. Wong. Thank you. Okay. It's very interesting, yeah. You can have a look on the rest of the participants, how they draw the letter A. Okay, let's see. Sharina, okay, all right. Thank you. So while you are putting up the paper, you can also look at the other participants, how they draw the circle. You can see that everyone actually perceive it differently, yeah? All right, thank you very much. Okay, so now the second activity, all right. So you draw on, so now you can do it on the other side of the paper, all right. So next, what I would like you all to do is fold the paper in half and then in half again. All right, so you're folding the paper twice, yeah? So fold the paper in half and then in half again. When you are done with that, you can open it up and you will see 4 squares created by the crease. All right. Now, I would like you to draw a circle to fill the upper left-hand square. All right. You draw a circle to fill the upper left-hand square. Okay. Next, draw a capital letter A so that it touches the circle on the top and bottom. All right, when you are done with that, draw a line horizontally through the middle of the circle. So are you done with that? So I'm going just to repeat the instruction again. All right, if you are done with that, that is fine. All right, so for those who just joined us or cannot catch up, I'm just going to talk about the instruction again. So first of all, you fold the paper in half and then in half again. Secondly, you open it to see there will be 4 squares created by the crease. Third will be you need to draw a circle to fill the upper left-hand square. Fourth is you draw a capital letter A so that it touches the circle on the top and bottom. And lastly, you draw a line horizontally through the middle of the circle. So are you ready to show me what you have drawn? You can switch on your camera.
Send me the link. So many people ask me for the link.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we see Bridget. All right, and then Mr. Te. Okay. Kian Soon. All right. Mr. Sanjay. Yeah, have a look at the other participants, how they draw the A, all right? Okay, you can see that, okay, so what mine is should be in this way. I'm not sure if you can see it. Yeah, so there's like 4 square and it should be on the left hand. So this is it, all right? So thank you for showing me. Just give me a little break, all right? I need to send the link to Gabriel for a little while, all right? So just give me a moment. Thank you, Mr. Wong. All right. So as compared to the first activity and the second activity, you can see that in the second activity, there are more details included in my instruction, and most of you get what I wanted you to do. But from the first activity, you can see that I'm just telling you like to draw a circle A, and what does it mean by that? All right. So in communication, okay, in today's world, we seem to think that people know what we want to say or what we want to think. But in fact, we left out a little bit details of what we want people to understand. All right. So let me share my screen. Okay. All right. I hope you can see my screen all right. So I have to admit that I'm still learning to be an effective communicator. So for today's session, it will be much more a sharing, and let's discover together how to become a much more effective communicator. So if you have any ideas, or you can unmute yourself and let me know, or you can just put on the chat box if you come across something interesting that actually happened to you before. All right. So there will be 4 topics that I will be focusing on today. So the first will be the theories of communication. So rest assured that I'm not going to bombard you with all the philosophical theory of communication, all right? And the second will be on the types of communication. Third will be what are the barriers that actually stop us from being communicating effectively, and what are the strategies to overcome it. And lastly, it will be a model or reflection tool that you can use to reflect on how well you actually communicate to other people and the other people actually understand you. All right. Okay. So generally, we all talk every day. I think from the moment you open your eyes, well, some people, they might not would like to talk in the morning, but you talk to your family members, your friends, the people at work, and even strangers. So talking actually plays an important role in both our personal and professional life. I believe some of you are lecturers over here, so we talk to students. I can't imagine a day that I would not be able to talk. All right. I think it's going to be, I think last time when I was working in a pharmaceutical company where we had this little experiment that we are not allowed to talk, and it was so difficult actually. So yeah, we talk every day, but do we communicate? So what is the difference comparing talking and communication? So talking simply refers to like speaking words and sentences, but communication is actually means much more than that. So theories of communication underlies the assumption, all right, that guide our communication behavior, all right. So communication should be something that is like practical skills and not theoretical speculation. But all of us, all right, we have our own theory of communication to explain of what we think we are doing or assume about how people should interact in various situations. So communication theory is just like an operating system for your computer or other electronic devices, such as like maybe you will favor like a normal Windows PC than a Mac laptop, or some people they might prefer using an Apple smartphone rather than Android. So all these actually help us to run various programs or applications. Everything works fine until you found that there's a compatibility problem. That when you want to download some software, probably Mac doesn't allow you to do so. So you probably like Windows much more. So actually communication is the same as well. So sometimes we think that our theory of communication should, works perfectly, but sometimes it doesn't just work in any of the situation. So let's take an example, all right? So Steve, all right, he's a manager at a technology company. So he might assume that good communication is clear, concise, open, and honest. I think all of us over here would think that, yeah, that's what good communication is all about. But to his surprise, this sort of communication doesn't work in his workplace, where he found that it's very difficult to negotiate at work with this sort of communication and even like resolve a conflict in his team. So feeling frustrated, he will likely to blame others for what seemed like the poor communication choices that they make. In fact, this is the root of the so-called communication problems that we face both personally and professionally. It's not that we are saying the wrong things, but it's just about our assumption of that situation seems to be not compatible. All right. So have you ever noticed how many communication problems people discuss are about other people? You might think that, yeah, I can just communicate just fine if only those other people, they can speak better. So this causes the communication problems that we think or arise when things doesn't go well, or the messages that you wanted to get across to others seems like it doesn't get into some other people and may cause like miscommunication and sometimes may lead to a misunderstanding or problem. So before we go into further, all right, so communication, we can see it as a two perspective, a transmission and also social construction. So first of all, we talk about communication as a transmission model. So this is how the operating system that most of us run every day. So it works fine. We just want to tell people what we want to talk about. However, it often breaks down when things get complicated and usually doesn't have the capacity to account for the complexities of human interaction and group work. So in this model, we are just thinking about, yes, this is what I want to tell. I just want the message to get across to you and finito. All right. This is what the model suggests. So let's look at the basic, all right, of a communication process. So communication involves the sender, all right, and the receiver, because you need to exchange the information. So let's look at this scenario where the sender, okay, he might have a heart to tell this receiver that he likes her, right? So how he's going to tell his love to this receiver, all right? So in this basic communication model, it involves encoding the message. So when we talk about encoding message, so you will have like 3 different types of options. So that will be verbal, you tell that person. Non-verbal, maybe you want to write a letter, or maybe both. You just want to write and maybe you talk at the same time. So encoding message is up to the individual preferences based on their background, their interests, how much they know about this person, all right? So for example, this sender, I will just call him John. I think it will be much easier. All right. So John wanted to tell, he would like to confess to this receiver. Okay, I will name her as Mary. All right. So he thinks that, well, writing letter probably is the best choice. Okay. Because he thinks that, like love letters, I'm not sure like how many of us over here actually still, well, in this generation, in this era, I think the younger generation will not write love letters anymore. Probably they will just WhatsApp or, yeah. So he thinks that love letter is the best way. So he encoded his message, all right, in writing form, okay? And next, it will require a channel. How Mary, the receiver, is going to decode this message by her eyes, all right? So for channel, there will be like 5 senses, all right? You can see, you can think, feel, and so on and so forth. So in this particular situation, it will be on your eyes, all right? You will read, so there will be 2 senses involving because you're going to read and you're going to see at the same time. So next, Mary received this letter and she will try to decode it. All right, that means she will read whatever that John sent to her. And well, let's see what's her feedback. All right, if she likes John, probably she will tell John directly. And this is an effective communication process where John, the sender, received the feedback from Mary. All right, so just to recap, an effective communication cycle, all right, involve the sender exchanging the information to receiver, and it requires how you encode the message, all right, and through what channel, and the receiver must be able to decode it, give the feedback, and this is only known as the effective cycle of communication. But sometimes it doesn't work so well, all right? There are some noises that can come in, all right? So for example, maybe John has a very bad handwriting that Mary can't read whatever that he writes. So this is a form of noise. So maybe John thought that Mary doesn't like him. So this is his assumption because Mary didn't give back the feedback, yeah? So this actually is a form of a failure communication process because John assumed that Mary doesn't like him, but in fact it's because of his message is not being sent through to Mary, okay? Okay, so according to this transmission model, communication is just to transfer information from one person to another or from one place to another. So this transmission model works best when messages are clearly represent the meanings in the mind of the sender, all right? So I know that what I wanted to tell that person. And these messages are transmitted without any distortion, and they are well received and interpreted in the same way they were intended. However, this transmission model will break down when all these conditions are gone, all right? So when I try to write a message that doesn't quite capture the meaning. And next is language, all right, plays an important role in create the social realities in our minds. And there's almost always this distortion in our message transmission, conflicting cultural norms, personal biases, and ideological motivations. And virtually, message is open to multiple interpretations, even though sometimes we thought that we know what we wanted to let the other party know that what we wanted to say. And many of these communication problems, right, that arise is in a situation where people actually do understand each other messages fairly well, but yet still do not align. I do not agree, and I do not connect with what you say. So sometimes it's a mistake that we think that we can fix these problems by tweaking some of the aspect of this transmission model that I have shown you just now. Maybe I will talk to that person instead of like writing an email. But at times, trying very hard to clarify our position further will make us feel like we are digging into the pit deeper. So it doesn't actually solve our problems, but in fact, we are in a deep trouble when we tend to explain it more. So its communication is just as simple as just transferring or exchanging information from a sender and to a receiver. In fact, the message, all right, should include the meaning, the interpretation, and understanding. And this comes to a new model, all right, of communication, which is known as the social construction model. So it's all about creating social world with other people, make meaning together, build common understanding, and negotiate our future together. So this is the model that help us to understand like people from different culture, different belief, different interests, how they can actually navigate together and move forward, all right? So in this model, communication happens at two levels. So just like a transmission model is just about the content. I just pass the message to the receiver and finito. But over here, it happens at two levels. First is the content level, and the second is the relationship level. So the content level will be about what you wanted to talk about, all right? And the second level is about the relationship, which is the meaning or the interpretation, all right, to the person. So it's not about what you say, but how you say it. So let's see this scenario to let you to understand a little bit more. I think it's getting a bit complicated. I hope you are following me. So have you ever been in an argument where someone accuses you of saying something you never actually say? Probably you will claim that I didn't say that, but that's what you mean, all right? So this is often the response. So if we were to follow the previous model, which is the transmission model where you just sending the message, well, right now is that you actually do not say it, all right? But people actually thinks that you say it, all right? So this somehow goes haywire. But if according to this social construction model, it understands that words do things, all right? And words does not only reflect the reality, but it also create the reality. So let's give a scenario about a father and a child, all right? So this child just left his bedroom and having his light on. So the father will be telling the child, I think you left the lights on upstairs, all right? So this father is not only describing what is actually happening, but it also imply a directive and reinforce his authority as a father. So what this father actually wanted to say is, go back upstairs and turn off the lights, all right? So you can see that the father did not actually tell the kid to go back upstairs and turn off the lights, all right? It's just not a formal message. I mean, compared to like you just left the lights on upstairs, but it's about the relationship level, the meaning that it constructed with this child, okay? So another key idea about this social construction word is about the social words, all right? So according to this psychology scholar, or not psychology, but a communication scholar, Barnett Peirce, all right? He talked about that we all inhabit different social worlds that made up of different social realities. So although we all share the same common place, object, and time, but we have different social worlds that come the term pluralism. So for example, a lecturer in a university and a student in a university, all right, they're both in the same place, but it means different things to them, all right? University means different things to them. And we construct this social world through ongoing communication. So for example, you and your boss, all right? So it doesn't exist previously, all right, this social world, but you construct it when you came in, you take up this job, and that's starting to have this communication process. So let's have a quick watch. Okay, I'm not going to show you this whole movie, The Martian, I'm not sure if you have watched this movie before. It's about the astronaut gets stranded in Mars and how he actually communicate, all right, back to NASA. So in this clip that I'm going to show it to you later, all right, will tell you the difference comparing the transmission model and also the social construction model. Okay, so let me share. Sorry, just 1 second, yeah. All right, so the first clip that I'm going to show you will be the transmission model, all right? So it will just be a direct sending messages across from this Matt Damon, who is the stranded astronaut, back to the NASA. All right, okay, so this is an example of the transmission model where you can see that receiver sender will be Vincent Kapoor, where he sent a message across to Matt Damon, the astronaut. So that is considered an effective communication cycle because he's sending a message and he got the feedback. All right, so now let's look at the second part of this clip where we will look at the social construction model, how it takes place. All right, thanks, Stephanie. Okay.
Oh. What's a felcher?
Yes, sir. He's
All right, so you can see that how struggle it is. Vincent Kapoor, all right, the NASA officer actually try, okay, to respond to Matt Damon, okay. Well, it's not just like exchanging messages. It's just as simple as like, yeah, I just want to tell you this and tell you that, but there are some like emotions that like getting behind of it, which is why when I talk about social construction model, all right, for a successful transmission of message, it requires the meaning, the interpretation, and the understanding. And you see like how Vincent Kapoor, the NASA officer, actually tried to gain a shared understanding before he respond to Matt Damon, because afraid that his words actually can create a social reality. All right. So if we think that communication is just like a transmission model, just by like exchanging messages or information, just by telling across to that person without like thinking the meaning, the interpretation, or in other words, the relationship behind, we might born to fail. All right. So we should upgrade, okay, our communication as a social construction model so that we can understand like people with like different cultural background or maybe belief or interest, so that we can respond wisely. All right. So next we will move on. Okay, so there are like 3 types of communication. So there's verbal communication, non-verbal, and nowadays we have like also written communication. So verbal communication use words, okay, and non-verbal is actually through your body language and facial expression. And lastly, written communication is by writing, just by like letter, email, or WhatsApp nowadays. So what are the 7 C's of communication, right, for an effective communication? So this C does not represent the cash, credit, or card. I'm not sure if you can buy communication, okay? But here it is, the 7 C's of communication: clear, concise, concrete, correct, coherent, complete, and courteous. So for an effective communication to take place, you have to be clear in your communication. What is your purpose in communicating? If you do not know what is the objective of your communication, the audience or the person that you speak to will not know what you wanted to speak. So it's important that you do not let them like reading between the lines or make assumption on the things that you want to say. And next is concise. For an effective communication, it's important that you keep your message brief. All right, so the audience or your students will not want to like listen 6 sentences where you can communicate in 3 sentences. All right. And third is concrete, all right? So your audience should know or have a very clear picture on what you actually wanted to say. So you should provide all the details and keep your message focused. And the fourth C is correct. So make sure there are no grammar or spelling errors so that your audience or your students can understand what you wanted to talk about. And fifth is coherent. So make sure all your points are connected. So it's logic and is relevant to the topic. And six is complete, all right? So make sure your audience actually understand what's to be done, and usually there should be a call to action in your message. And the last one is courteous. So a courteous communication is friendly, open, and honest. So always keep your reader viewpoint in mind so that they can be empathetic, all right, in their reads. So for example, you should use a polite language like such as may I, thank you, and please. So, well, even though we have like all these effective communication, we understand like what's going on behind, like people actually have like different belief and so on and so forth. There are like three very common, okay, that prevent us from communicating. So the first is language, second is cultural, and third is your emotion. So language barrier, all right. So it's responsible for both verbal and non-verbal exchanges. And in the world, there's like more than 6,500 spoken languages. And it's very interesting that the first language that we speak in mind actually influence our thinking, all right. And this language is actually always come hand in hand with this cultural barrier. So they often always say like language is culture, culture is language, all right. So why is this so is because when we speak, we actually indirectly will let people know what is our belief and our values. And culture as well dictates how we communicate, as I've mentioned, and also our behavior. So for those, okay, I think all of us here do speak more than one language. It actually gives us an advantage because we see things in a different perspective. And according to research, we actually have a better memory and a better performance. And with this cultural barrier, so Hofstede's this Dutch management researcher actually come up with this 6 dimension, okay, that talk about the difference in the culture. So this do not only limited to like different countries, but also like within, okay, our society. So the first is about the power distance. Some people that might think that I'm the superior, all right, so you should listen to me, all right. So this is the power distance. And secondly is uncertainty avoidance. So some people, they might just want to avoid any confusion or just want to avoid any conflict. So they just listen. They are very loyal, but they just listen, all right? And the third is individualism versus collectivism. In your community or in your workplace, some people, they might just think about themselves. It's always I. While some might be practice this collectivism, which think about we, all right? And the fourth is about masculinity and femininity. So in certain countries, they will feel like women doesn't mean anything. They will not take into account what a woman talk about. And the fifth is long-term versus short-term, all right? So some bosses, they might see the long-term, all right, to see what is the process. While some bosses, they might think that short-term, all right, they want quick results. So you need to produce something very quickly. And the last Hofstede model of culture is about indulgence and restraint. So indulgence is more about like, yeah, I just want to chill and enjoy my life. So sometimes when you want to tell that person, all right, to do things quickly, but they just have this personality or culture, all right, they just want to enjoy and just chillax. Or some, they are restrained, okay? That means what you wanted to do right now, so you do it now. Okay, so these are the different culture, different behavior that actually happen among the people around us. So it's crucial that we understand. To be honest, I feel that there's no right or wrong. Okay, as I've mentioned, it's the theory that we ourselves created our own theory of communication, that think that this person should do this and this person should do that, all right? And that comes the communication problems. And another model, all right, from this Erin Mayer, I found this through my friend when I was studying in Poland. It's amazing to see that Malaysia is actually part of this research. So they actually look at different management style across different culture or different country based on these 8 dimensions: communication, evaluating, leading, deciding, trusting, disagreeing, scheduling, and persuading. So over here, you can see like Malaysia, Netherlands, Japan, Germany. So there's like Asian. This is just a small part of it. In fact, if you are interested or you actually work with or you have like collaboration with other people from like different country, you can try to Google it, Erin Mayer tools. You can just click on the country, on the country or the people that you are working with and see how actually how different it is, all right, in these 8 dimensions. So for example, in communication, all right, low context means that the person will directly tell you their thoughts and feelings, whereas high context means that I will indirectly tell you, all right. So these results are based on a survey and interview. So you can see that Malaysia, China, and Japan, we are much more high context communicators. So we do not directly tell that person what we actually think and feel, as compared to like the Americans, the Australian, the Netherlands, or German, all right? So I think Malaysia fairly is like towards the right, okay? And let's have a look at the persuading part. Yeah, Malaysia is not as part of that. I'm not sure why. So yeah, if you are interested, you can have a look on this Erin Mayer on the culture map. It's a very interesting research. I think she has a book on this as well. Yeah. So another example, all right, of this cultural difference or the language that they speak. Yeah. No principle. Okay, probably it is. Okay, so sometimes language also plays a role on this. So I still remember when I was studying in Poland. So yeah, I mean, their first language is not English, it's Polish. So even though they can speak English, but sometimes the words that they speak just doesn't mean what they wanted to say. So I actually quite struggle at that point of time, but I'm glad that I have very good lab mates that actually we do talk our hearts out and we do actually try to understand each other. So this is just an example of how a British talking and what the Dutch actually understand, all right? So in generally, okay, this is just my point of view, so it doesn't represent anything, okay? So when you hear the British talk about, I hear what you say, all right? What the British mean actually is, I disagree completely. And what the Dutch understand is, yeah, they accept my point, okay? So this also reminds me the time when I was doing my research. So yeah, my supervisor was very nice and she always talk about like, yeah, how good is your research is and so on and so forth. But yeah, in the very end, I know that something is not right, okay? They are polite speakers, but sometimes we just need to read between the lines, all right? Let's see, there should be one which is what the Malaysian understand. Yeah, that's true, okay. So yep, so these are some of these, and I recall that they always like to say like very interesting. So in fact, they do not mean that what you speak is interesting, okay? And I think what we think, I think it's quite similar to the Dutch, I think, okay? So these are some of the cultural difference or the language that we speak, okay? All right, let's go to the next slide. All right, so the third barrier will be about emotion. Okay, let's see. Interesting. All right, thank you, Stephanie. All right, so okay, what Malaysians say is lah. That's true. Yeah, we always have our sentence end with lah. Yeah, that's true. So the next barrier is about emotion. All right. So emotions can actually prevent us from communicating openly about our thoughts and feelings. Sometimes emotions can also stop you or prevent you from deliver or receive the message effectively, especially when you're angry, when you're frustrated. You can see that the sentence that you use are actually not the same as when you are calm. And when the people listen to you, they also interpret into another meaning. All right. So sometimes communication can be actually very extremely challenging, okay, as we are just only human and we all have emotions. So what are the strategies for overcoming these communication barriers? All right, so I'm going to share with you over here the 6 strategies. So I will be going like each one to it individually. So first of all, we have to acknowledge and respect the differences, okay? And I believe all of us are doing pretty quite well on this since we are living in a multicultural country. So it's important that we avoid any remarks or judgment that may hurt the other party's feelings or invoke on offense. And it's important as well to learn about each other preferences that can help to reduce this misunderstanding. Next is using different communication channel. So I know that now is a technology era where everyone is using like social media, email, and Skype. I would say that I'm the old school type, all right? Certain things I prefer to speak like face to face because I feel like I can deliver the message much more clearer when we are talking physically. But of course, the younger generation, they might not think in that way because sometimes I just feel like certain things they are, how to say, it's not comfortable to talk like in person. So it's good that you try to like email or WhatsApp to see what's the reaction of that person. So it's no right or wrong on the channels that you want to use because it's based on your preferences and also the experiences that you have been before. So this is why we need to understand like each other, which is why it comes back to the social construction model. All right. So the next will be the non-verbal cues. To be honest, I think this is the most important part. And as suggested by the research is that 80% of impression has nothing to do with your words. All right. So non-verbal cues will be something like gesture, your facial expression, your body language, eye contact, your voice tone. All right. So when I was in Poland, like 10 years back, the locals actually, they do not speak English, to be honest. And I have no idea on speaking Polish. So I really have a difficulty. And when you think you are in a situation where you do not understand any of the words, you pay very much attention to their body language. So that time, I feel like I have a sixth sense or something, but in fact, I think all of us do sometimes look at people's body language very much more than the words, all right? So non-verbal is very important, all right, to support or actually tell you what you actually want to say. So according to this Professor Marabian, all right, this model that 7% of your communication is actually through your words. All right, so you can see that it's such a small fraction on the words that you choose when you speak to the people. And mostly it's about your body language, which take about like 55%. And next is the tone of your voice, all right? And especially nowadays, we like to use emojis. I have talked to my students before and they told me like, now it's not the emojis era. So I was like, okay. But sometimes when you send emojis, all right, that person may have a different thinking, all right, and the receiver may have interpret your message not correctly. So this is the challenging across, all right. Okay, Faslina also mentioned that she prefer face-to-face. Yeah, that's true. So how to read body language? This is not just only about us as a speaker, but also the receiver. All right. So body language actually gives you a valuable form of feedback, but can be easily missed if you are not aware what to look for. So to be honest, I mean, even myself, sometimes I can miss like what that person actually means. Okay, emoji alerting sound. Okay, wow, this is cool. You can see like what CY have shared. Wow, this is very cool. Okay. And non-verbal clues can be negative as well as positive. All right. Okay. So what are the example of this negative body language? So this will be such as like arms folded in front of the body, maybe a minimal or tense facial expression, body turned away from you, or maybe the eyes do not looking directly at you. So these are some examples of like negative body language. So sometimes I think we will like, okay, maybe not all of you, okay, maybe me myself, all right, that I would like to fold my arms. But this is actually a sign of negative body language. But sometimes I feel like we just do not know where our hands or arms should be at the place, okay? So it's important that people might perceive that you will like to dominate, and it's not a good sign when you folded your arms, okay? That's a good emoji, LJ. All right. So maybe looking down, gazing somewhere else is also a negative body language. Sometimes fidgeting or writing and not paying attention to the people, you are actually delivering a negative body language to that person. So additional negative body signs will be like nail biting, locked ankles, rapid blinking of your eyes, tapping or drumming your fingers, and fidgeting. Okay, so these are all the negative aircon to call. Okay, folded arms. Yeah, probably. Okay, that's, yeah, you see, like it's a very interesting point of view whereby I've never thought about, like, yeah, sometimes you fold is because aircon too cold. But yeah, you see, like even body language can have like different meaning, and this actually based on your experience. Okay, it's very important to note that what we perceive about other people is based on our experience. That's interesting. Okay. So there's also like positive body language. So feelings such as like trust, interest, and happiness, all right, when you show through your body language. So when you spotted these signs means that your participants or maybe your audience actually are very engaged to you. Okay, so this is a good sign. And here are some positive body language that you can use for your advantage, all right? So have an open posture, do not slouch, okay? And use a firm handshake and do not get carried away, all right? To shake it like too hard. And it's important to maintain a good eye contact, but not too much into like an eye staring contest. And avoid touching your face. I know that sometimes now we need to wear masks, so I think we would not be able to touch our face so much. And lastly, smile, all right? So this is an example of like the good and the bad. So you can see that the lady at image B, you can see that she's very grumpy and she's putting her hands on her hips, okay? So this actually shows that she would like to dominate, okay? So this is not a very good body posture. And A is about the comfortable maintaining the good eye contact, and B is like touching your face. So in the psychological world, body language, all right, touching your face actually means dishonesty. So it's good that we try to avoid that. So tip number one for you today, so the exclusive smile, all right? So if you flash everybody the same smile like a Confederate dollar or maybe Ringgit Malaysia, it loses the value, all right? So you should grace each with a distinct smile, all right? And reserve that big flooding smile for that one person in a group that is very important to you, okay? All right, let's see. There was a student do not know where to write his idea on the answers. I can be in picture A. Okay, yeah, probably you could. Okay, all right. So next, okay, so okay, let's see at the chat box. All right, thank you very much for like being so engaged, all right, in this session. All right, it really helps me. Okay, so remember about the Mehrabian's model that talk about most of our communication actually takes place through body language as well as the tone, pitch, and the pace that when you speak. All right, so it is how we say something and not what we say. All right, so a sentence can have different meanings depends on the tone of your voice. So for example, I didn't say you were stupid. I didn't say you were stupid. I didn't say you were stupid. All right, so different tone and different emphasizing on different words, all right, will bring a different meaning to the receiver. Okay, so as communication, okay, according to Mehrabian model, all right, so great words alone aren't enough to make you a good speaker. So you should like actually take note on your non-verbal communication, which is your body language as well as your pitch, your tone. So some points to remember. So when we are angry or excited, our speech tends to become very rapid and high-pitched. And when we are bored or feeling down, our speech tends to slow down as well. And when we are feeling defensive, all right, our speech is often abrupt. So it's not just about, as I mentioned, the things that I'm talking right now is not just only on a speaker point of view, but also the listener as well. So when you wanted to talk about something, do like calm yourself down, all right, because it might give a different meaning to the listener. So there's these three key components, all right, the pitch, speed, and tone, all right, that can make you a better communicator. So as I mentioned just now, the pitch, all right, so when your pitch is very high, it can define that you're very afraid, okay. Lower pitch means that you're very calm, okay, so it's very important that you play with your pitch. And as well as your speed, all right, so how fast or slow you talk. So speaking quickly is a sign that you're very nervous, or maybe sometimes you're very excited that you wanted to tell your friends or your family members about the things that you have been through. So try to make some pauses in between, especially when you wanted to talk about something that is important. Give the listener some time to ponder, all right, about the things that you have mentioned. And next is the tone, all right. So when you vary the tone, you can keep your listener engaged as well as your students, all right? So when you speak softly, it encourages people to be listen to you more closely, all right? And when you raise your voice, it gives a different feeling. So tip number 2 for you is about eyeball selling, all right? It's not like selling your eyeball, but our human body is just like a 24-hour broadcasting station. All right, so we actually tell people without saying it through our body language. Like for example, you thrill me, you bored me. So it's important that you pick up all your friends or your students' signals, and then you try to plan your speaking on the pitch and the pace accordingly. And the fourth strategy is to clarify your message. So the main goal of communication is actually to tell the message. So this is part of the 7 C's, all right, on the clarity of your message. So I'm not going to go further on this. And the 5th is about asking questions. So asking questions is actually a key skill in communication. And it's not only like between us human, but also with ChatGPT. I believe some of you, or I think most of us, have tried to use ChatGPT. And if you do like attend some of the webinars that do actually suggest or recommend us to ask the questions in a good way, all right, in order to get the answers that we want. So of course, if you ask the wrong question, you will get the wrong answer. So asking questions actually can help you to build a stronger relationship, all right, and also manage your people much more effectively, or your students. So there are three types of questions: open, closed, and probing questions. So for open questions, all right, so it's usually you will anticipate the the receiver, all right, to give you a longer answer. So it usually begin with what, why, and how, and you will want to know about his or her feelings, opinion, or the knowledge. So for example, like, what happened at the meeting? How was the party? So it's actually very good for when you wanted to develop an open conversation, or you want to find out more details or other person's opinion or issues. How about closed questions? All right. So sometimes we might think that closed questions probably is not a good question, but if you wanted to test your understanding or make a conclusion or make a decision, all right, closed question can be a very good use or advantage for you. So, however, do keep in mind that misplaced closed question can actually kill the conversation and lead to awkward silences. All right. So let's see. Malaysia will answer like that law. But I think that like that law, maybe they have like other meaning inside as well. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on. So the third will be the probing question. All right. So for this, usually is a method where you use the 5 whys. You wanted to know what is the root of the problem. So you keep on asking why. So I think, well, it depends on what kind of situation you are using this probing question, all right? So especially if you want to gain a clarification, okay, from the student, or you want to draw out information from people that avoid trying to tell you certain things, all right? You can use this 5 whys method. And the last one is practice active listening, all right? So how well you listen actually impact on your job effectiveness and the quality of relationship with other people. And we only remember, okay, according to research, between 25% and 50% of what we hear. So when your spouse, okay, start to question you that, do you not listen to what I say? And so on and so forth, you can tell him or her that, yeah, I only remember between 25% and 50%. So this is not only between the conversation with your partner, but sometimes when you're talking with your friends, your boss, all right? So it's very important that we pay attention, okay, to the individual response, okay, because sometimes it may lead to assumption. We humans sometimes we just like to assume, okay, not to say that we like to assume, but our brain just automatically wired that, yeah, it should be like this, okay? So it's very important that we practice active listening. This is a crucial part in the communication settings. And the third tip, okay, for an effective communication is about empty their tanks, all right? So when you want to know more information, or you wanted to, to let the other person know your idea, first of all, let the other party to have their entire say first, all right? So the only way to be sure their tank is empty is that you listen, all right, before you speak anything, before you assume or come up with a conclusion. Because when they know that you are listening to them and only you have your say, they will actually much more can accept your idea, okay? So these are some of the ways, okay, that can help you to practice this listening skill. So first of all, you pay attention to the speaker, all right? So be aware of their body language and ignore any of the distraction. And next, all right, is to provide feedback, all right? So as what all of you have been like doing, like putting your messages on the chat box. So it actually helped me to know that you are actually listening to me, all right? So this is actually important. And one thing, how you can actually provide feedback, all right? Sometimes in a certain conversation, all right, You just do not know what to say. So one key tip is actually echoing, or in other words, like repeating the last sentence or the last words that the person have just said. Okay. I've also have read some articles and follow one of the TikToker, okay, on like how to have better communication, even with your kids, with your spouses or your friends, is that always listen, and you will repeat the last part of the sentence that the person say. Sometimes maybe like kids or partners, they just want you to listen. They just would not want you to add in more of the details. So this is also a form of communication, okay? And next is about defer judgment, all right? So allow the speaker to finish their point before you give in your ideas. So this is about empty their tank. And lastly, is about respond appropriately, all right? So be open, honest, and respectful on the speaker's opinion. All right, the very last part, okay? Well, I didn't know that it's just only 10, all right? So sometimes we just see ourselves and we do not think too much about how well we talk, all right? So this is actually a tool that you can use in order to reflect on your communication skills. So this can actually help you to know like what have you been communicating to the others. And also you will wanted to know if people actually listen to you because of how you sound and what you look like, or they're listening to you because of the value of your ideas, the clarity of the statements, or the incisiveness of your thinking. So one way of learning about how we are seen by others is using this tool known as the Johari window. So this Johari window is actually a model that is developed by two psychologists. So the Johari, the name is actually the combination of the first name of these two psychologists, all right? So this model is based on the concept of the awareness that is felt by you and also the other people. And it also defines where the information lies when two or more people are communicating. So this is how it looks like, the Johari window. So you can just have a piece of paper and you just draw like 4 quadrants, all right, or 4 windows. So on top, there will be known by self and also not known by self. And on your right, okay, or the vertical part will be known by others or not known by others. So in these 4 windows, there's like 4 different parts. First is the open arena, which is something that I know, you know. And the second part is about foresay, all right, which is something that I know, you do not know. And the third is the blind spot, which is I do not know, but you know. And the last part is the unknown, where everyone do not know, okay. So a further explanation on each of this window, all right. So in this I know, you know area, okay. So it's about how open you are when you are talking to that person. Of course, the more information you share with your audience, the more effective communication that you can achieve. Remember about the social construction model that I have mentioned. When people get to know your background, your interests, and also your thinking, probably people will tend to change their communication with you, because maybe if you are a sensitive person, then probably people will not will be much more careful in the selection of words and will not trigger your emotion, okay? How about the foresay, all right? So these are the things that are known to you, but not to others. So the most key part is that we should move our communication into a much more this open arena part, so that this is where the effective communication actually happens in this window, okay? So sharing a short but memorable story or details about your connection to the topic actually can help you, all right, and the others to get to know each other much more. So this is how, when you share the story, it will move, all right, your communication into a much more effective way. And how about blind spot? All right. So blind spot are the part where things that you are not aware but other people can see. So for example, when like let's say when you're giving a presentation and you're speaking very quickly because you are nervous, but when you are nervous, you will not be able to evaluate yourself, all right? You will not focus, okay? So it's very important that you have like your friends or your colleagues to tell you like how well you speak, okay? And the last part is the unknown area, all right? So these are the things that we do not know anything, okay? Me or you. So this area actually help us to get out of our comfort zone and understand each other much more. So how to use this to improve your communication? So first of all, you will have to draw these 4 quadrants, all right? So you can do this with your partner or your friends or your colleagues, all right? So in the open pane, all right, so on this, the open arena, so start adding like 10 to 12 things about yourself, and then you ask your colleague to circle things that agree with, okay? The next step is those that is left uncircled, all right, you will move it to the fosse part, all right? So this is the second part. And the third will be, you will ask your colleague to write things about you in the blind spot over here. So if there's anything that you already know, you can put it into the open arena part. If there's something that is new to you, you should be left over here. And the last part is about a self-reflection, all right? Maybe you wanted to know that why you are so impatient when you are talking or when you are struggling with talking to other people. So these are the part that you can reflect on yourself. Okay, so that's the end of the session this morning. I know it's a bit quick, all right? So some take-home messages for you is that successful communication can actually deepen your relationship in both personal and professional life. And it's important that we practice, okay? Sometimes we often overhear like, yeah, we should do this, we should do that. But practice actually help, okay, to improve your communication habits and to become a better communicator. So one key aspect in communication is about active listening, all right? So always listen to the other people before you start to spill out what you wanted to talk about. And be mindful of their non-verbal cues, as I've mentioned that according to the Mehrabian model, that most of our communication takes place through your body language, which is like about 55%. And also consider the audience and the context when you are communicating. Okay, how you spell the model? Which model? The Mehrabian, is it? Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. All right. So before ending this session, all right, just a quote to share with you. Repeating an action makes a habit. Your habits create your character, and your character is your destiny. So it's important that you practice your communication because it actually can form your character, and may success be your destiny. All right, so that's all for today's session. If you have any question, thank you, LJ. Thank you very much. All right, so yeah, if you have any question, you can put in on the chat box, and it's very nice to meet all of you, and thank you very much for joining today's session. I thought that today most of us will be taking a holiday off. All right, so have a good day, have a good weekend, and I shall see you again. All right, thank you very much. All right, thank you, Bridget. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, see you. Have a good weekend.